I mean this not to be disrespectful in any way. My personal opinion is that upon finding out Candace Owens had her name mentioned by this psychopath, she probably started sweating bullets. She probably started just having an anxiety attack. That's forgive the expression. I just realized maybe that was a poor choice of words. We have in this culture war, which is a looming civil war, if you were to ask me, identitarians on one side and everyone else in the middle. The identitarian left is substantially less prone to acts of lethal force, and the identitarian right is substantially more likely to successfully pull these things off. The identitarian left is more likely to pull off low-scale things that are sometimes annoyances, sometimes rather violent, put people in the hospital, but aren't the most egregious. And this is why you'll end up hearing a lot about what the identitarian left does, because they do it a lot. However, you'll hear about these key moments from the identitarian right because they're substantially more forceful and lethal. The goal, in my opinion, from both of these groups is to try and rope people in the middle who oppose identitarianism into joining a side. In the manifesto, the guy says straight up that he was doing it because he wanted the left in the United States to try and restrict the rights of Americans so that the right would feel like their liberty was being taken away and fight back. He was hoping that this would lead to a rapid balkanization, and the only outcome ultimately would be race war, that people would be forced to draw lines. We have right now, we're in a civil war. We are in it. It's just not gotten to that point where two massive armed factions are fighting in the streets or anything like that. The identitarian side, for the most part, agrees with the left and the right. They hold basically similar views. They agree on so many points. They're just at odds over the color of each other's skin, anti-white or pro-white or whatever. They need people who are uninitiated, who resist identitarianism to fight on their side. As he stated, he wants to create this balkanization so that it will force people who believe in freedom to choose a side. They want this war to come. The machine will just keep churning. And he has pushed that snowball down the hill. It's already barreling. If I was to make a prediction, I've said repeatedly that we're at the front gates of some kind of civil conflict. And I think it's funny because for the past year I've been talking about the increased escalation. I wasn't wrong. I have not been wrong yet. Admittedly, it's hard to be wrong when we're talking about either it escalates or it doesn't, because there have been quiet periods. But this is a dramatic escalation. There may have been 4 people involved. We don't know. I believe there are 3 people in custody. I believe they have the man in custody. But at any rate, this man was very clearly active in one extreme faction in the culture war. He knew his internet lingo. He name-dropped people. He knew what he was doing, how it would play out, and he was right. And now everyone's giving him what he wants because they can't help it. It's an addiction. I think the division is so fierce at this point between left and right. Nothing can bring people back together. I see the typical people on the far left and the far right saying this, that, and this, this, that, and this. This is exactly what we can expect. It's your fault. It's your fault. There's nothing you can do. I thought about, I've been thinking for a while, what could be done to stop the dramatic escalation? What can be done to bring people together? And then I think about the fundamental fracturing of reality between the two factions that can never be mended. On one side, you have issues of, I don't even want to say it. I'm not going to get into it. But you have issues in the culture war where people on the left and the right both believe that either side is denying science, which is objective reality. And if neither side can agree on what is true in the physical world, in our reality, there literally is nothing you can do to mend it. Nothing. And so the only thing I see happening is I think the division is impossible to mend at this point. And so this man's intention of accelerating things can only work. And it is. One last thing I'll say. I've talked, on the Joe Rogan podcast with Jack Dorsey, I mentioned the darkness. And Jack talked about it too. That you push people into these extreme pockets when you ban people, when you shut them down. Jack said that someone from the Westboro Baptist Church was de-radicalized by being on the platform and being exposed to other people's views. It's also been reported that this man spent too much time in an echo chamber of extremist opinion. And I believe that's true. And I believe the more these platforms restrict, it's a Chinese finger trap. The solution to the problem is counterintuitive. You need to let more people speak, vent their anger, and talk about these issues. But when you take away their ability to do so, when you take away their ability to function, and when you put people who, to use the analogy of drugs, who smoke a little pot, you put them in with hardcore offenders and murderers, you get extremism. We're on that path and nothing will stop it. Because the simple solution, the obvious solution is sometimes wrong. The knee-jerk reaction is sometimes wrong. Don't be impulsive. But they can't help it. People are going to scream, ban them all. Ban this group, ban that group, and it'll work. And they will. They're already talking about how Facebook, Google, Twitter, and these platforms are facilitating these videos and these conversations. They'll take them down. They will restrict the conversation. People will find new echo chambers to become radicalized in, and it will only make it all worse. And they know it. Jack Dorsey told me he knew it. He said on the podcast he thinks about it every day, that he's pushing people into the darkness. Congratulations. Nothing can stop it. I think 2 more years. That's my prediction. Could be wrong. He wants to recruit you. He wants to push one side to push back on the other and force you to draw lines in the sand. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. When this thing escalates, I won't. I'll absolutely never join these psychopaths. No, I'm talking about left and right. Obviously, as I mentioned, they don't like me for who I am and for what I am, for where I come from, and this has always put me at odds with identitarians. You can't have someone who's too white or not white enough. And this is why I think these people are dangerous extremists. But it'll work. Because identity groups, the identitarianism has been expanding. It has been getting worse. And I think we're going to see it get dramatically worse. And you know what I'll do? I'll leave.
Bye.